Hey Reese, I was just watching your video about men's bathrooms and you thinking about why trans guys are often afraid, or sort of androgynous people are afraid to use men's bathrooms, despite the fact that, for the most part, all the sort of stories are, I guess, I think a lot more with trans women, and then for trans men, or in general, it's when they use a woman's washroom and they're perceived as male, or as androgynous, and thus not belonging in that sort of women's space. And I was doing some thinking about it, and what I came up were two things that I definitely felt in my experience prior to starting testosterone and medically transitioning. So I've been on testosterone for 6 months, and I'm pretty much perceived as male all the time. So in some ways, some of this is less of an issue now, although in other ways it is still an issue for me. But I don't have an option really to not deal with it, because I can't really go to a women's washroom. Not that I want to, but anyway. So the two things that I identified, at least for myself, the first one is definitely feeling unfamiliarity with what to do in a men's bathroom. And then also, in part, related to that is just how to sort of interact with men as someone, or males as someone who is now perceived as male, and not having a lot of experience doing that, and so just being really unsure, which I think makes using the women's washroom easier, just because, being socialized as female, you know how to do it, even if you're going to get harassed going in there. And this is something that I still sort of experience, in part is, I don't know, and, all guys' experience, cisgendered guys' experience is going to be different anyway, and so it's likely that there's not this, one, secret code that all cisgendered guys know that, trans guys have to learn. But there's kind of a feeling that maybe there is, and you just don't know it, and so you're going to do something wrong, and people will freak out, or whatever. And this is something I still experience using a men's bathroom, just in that, if there's not a stall open, but there's a urinal open, I'm not going to be able to use the urinal, so what do? Do I stand there and wait for the stall to open? Does that make me look weird? All sorts of the anxiety related to that. But the big thing that I think that I experience, actually possibly even more now using the men's washroom, is homophobia, and incidents or situations that being perceived as a gay man may cause, or cause. And there's a couple things related to that. I mean, I think that I know that I'm perceived as a gay man for the most part, and a fairly effeminate one, and so a lot of the anxiety that I have now is more related to gay bashing. Is someone going to think that I'm, gay, and get upset about it? And it's not really something that I can control, and I like the way that I act. But I know that the world perceives that as gay. Gay. And so this also affects how I feel based on the sort of venue of the bathroom. You know, if I'm at a restaurant, I'm not going to worry about it too much. But I haven't had a lot of time or opportunity to go to bars where, you know, inhibitions are lowered and people tend, you know, have a perhaps not tendency, but might be more likely to pick a fight or something. Or I went to a baseball game relatively recently, and you know, it's sort of a very stereotypical masculine space, and so I felt really sort of unsure about how men would feel if I were to enter that space, and if they were to, you know, take offense at my, like, perceived, you know, effeminacy or whatever. So I think in a lot of ways it's interesting to think about this sort of fear of gay men and what that means. You know, why are other men afraid of gay men? Because I think that ultimately is what a lot of homophobia boils down to, and you know what that means about masculinity and all of that stuff. But I think it plays a really sort of big part in at least my fear or anxieties going into men's public washrooms. And so, luckily, you know, I haven't had any problems with that at all. But I can foresee, and you know, something like that happening, and maybe not to the point where it escalates to violence, but you know, name calling or whatever, something to make me feel uncomfortable in the bathroom. So I just wanted to put that out there, quick response.